All right, let's dive right into some really powerful teaching strategies, all coming from Jeremy Harmer's amazing framework. We're going to break down how you can structure your English lessons to make them way more effective.
So at the very heart of Harmer's method is this brilliant little model. It's called ESA, Engage, Study, and Activate. Honestly, this is the building block for so many great lesson plans. Think of it like a three-step dance. First, you've got to engage your students. You need to get them curious, interested, emotionally connected to what's going on. Because without that, let's be real, learning just doesn't stick. Then you move into the study phase. This is where you get into the nitty-gritty, the grammar rules, the new vocabulary, how things are put together. And finally, the best part, activate. This is where you let them loose and get them to actually use the language in a real task.
Now, the most common way to use this is what's called the straight arrows approach. It's super logical. You engage, then you study, then you activate. Simple, clean, and you know what? It works really, really well.
But here's where things get really interesting. What if we just flipped that whole sequence on its head? What happens when you let students try to do something before you've taught them all the rules? Well, that's how you can absolutely supercharge their learning, because they learn by doing and by making mistakes.
And this brings us to a technique called the boomerang sequence. It's kind of like throwing your students into the deep end of the pool, but in the best way possible.
In the boomerang approach, you still start by engaging them, but then you jump straight to the activate stage. The study part comes later, after they've had a go at the task. It's like the learning boomerangs back to a specific point they need help with. So imagine this. You get students excited about a topic, and then you just set them a task, maybe a role play or a problem to solve. As they're doing it, you're just observing. And then, based on the struggles you saw, you lead a study session that is perfectly tailored to what they actually need. It is so responsive and so effective. The beauty of the boomerang model is that students get to try things out first and discover for themselves, oh, wait, I don't know how to say this. They find their own knowledge gaps. And only then do you swoop in with a theory to help them fix it. It creates a real, genuine need to learn. Okay, so if we're going to let students jump in and try things, they're going to make mistakes, right? Of course. And that's not just okay. It's a good thing. But how we as teachers respond to those mistakes is absolutely critical. According to Julian Edge, we've got to be a bit of a detective first. We have to figure out if we're looking at a slip or an error. A slip is just, a brain freeze. The student actually knows the rule, but maybe they're nervous or talking fast. They can correct themselves. An error, on the other hand, shows a real gap in their knowledge. They just don't know the rule yet. Knowing which is key. And once you know what kind of mistake you're dealing with, you can choose the right tool to fix it. One of the most elegant, most effective techniques out there is called reformulation.
It sounds a bit technical, but it's actually so simple and natural. All it means is that you model the correct language without killing the conversation. You don't stop everything to say, nope, that's wrong. You just repeat what they said, but the correct way, as a normal part of your conversation.
For instance, a student might say, she said me, I was late. Instead of hitting the brakes, you just respond conversationally, oh, so she told you were late, did she? See? The correction is just woven right into the chat. The student hears the right version in a totally natural context. So yeah, with reformulation, the teacher just repeats the student's idea back to them, but correctly and naturally. It's brilliant because it lets the student notice the mistake for themselves, all without interrupting their train of thought. So when you put it all together, what do we got? Whether you're flipping your whole lesson with a boomerang sequence or just using a subtle feedback technique like reformulation, the goal is exactly the same: to create a learning space that's more dynamic, more responsive, and just better. So the real question is, which one of these powerful ideas are you going to try in your next lesson?